Hey guys, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get the chance to interview Nora L. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yeah, it's like it's not my full last name, so that's fine.
Oh, okay, no worries. And Nora, welcome. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah. I love your British accent, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, I
um,
haven't heard any British people on your channel. Actually, no, one person.
yeah, I think I did interview a British person. Did I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's an INTJ, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jin Shergill.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so Nora, what is your MBTI type? And then follow that up with what is your op type?
Okay, so my MBTI type is ESTP, but I just want to quickly say that I don't know if it is an MBTI type because it's still Damon Shannon's system. So
Sure, yeah, no, that's fine.
technically, yeah. And my op type, would you like to know that?
Yep, yep. Just dive right in.
Okay. Okay. It's SETI.
Yeah.
And should I tell you the animals as well?
Yes, yes, everything.
Okay.
Everything. Yeah,
Everything.
tell
Okay.
me everything.
Here, consume,
Yes.
sleep, play, blast, masculine, MM.
So masculine.
MFE, MSE, and feminine inner world.
So masculine extroverted sensing and
Yes.
masculine extroverted feeling with
Mhm.
feminine introverted thinking and feminine introverted intuition. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. So how did you feel once you got your typing results back? Did you agree with it? And did it make sense to you?
It was all the same functions I was expecting. I was expecting INFJ because I'm quite introverted, but they explained that part by saying I'm introverted ESTP. It was still a lot to process, and yeah, it took me a while, but when things make sense to me, I accept them. So it made sense in a lot of ways, and I feel like my video was really honest and straightforward because you pay a lot of money, you want to be honest. I don't really understand the people who kind of construct a persona when they pay that much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like, I was honest and it made sense. And Shannon did most of the talking in a sort of ST way. So it made a lot of sense.
So you're technically the same type as Obama, right? Or something like that?
Yes. See, even that, when I watched that video in the class, I was like, he does not seem like an ESTP. And then I
No,
was
he
thinking,
doesn't.
well, within their system, if he could be an ESTP, then so can I.
Yeah. Now, as an ESTP, you have masculine SE. So can you tell us more about what that's like? Because I have no idea what masculine SE is versus like feminine SE. Like, what is the difference?
I think it's like sort of my movement's quite fast and direct and pushy, and I've noticed like at my job other people are a lot more like a little softer. If I put things down, it's quite, or if I tuck a chair in, or
Yeah.
if a student's annoying me and they're pushing the table up, I'll just push it down. I'm
Yeah.
quite forceful in that way. And also if I've got a laptop in my bag like on the like near my desk and a student goes by, or like someone's about to like trample my bag, I will get so like, I'm very aware of my things and my environment, and I'm just like, don't touch that, or that's mine, or like not in an anal way, but kind of like just being aware of it, and not like some people be like, oh yeah, move my stuff, fine. I'm like, it's okay, I can move my stuff, or I'm just very aware of stuff like that and like my space, and yeah. So I
Like
don't know
you're
if that's masculine SE.
so it's kind of like
like it's mine.
it's like
Yeah.
you're quite territorial then in that sense. Like that's what
Very,
it's like.
yeah. Yeah, or like yeah, it's not flowy, it's very like, I just see it as like a big box of just hard, like a wall. It's just there, and I use it to sort of command or demand my space and I feel like because my inner world is more flowy and feminine, I need to have masculine SE in order to have any kind of voice or presence.
What about your masculine FE? How does that kind of manifest in your day-to-day life?
It makes it hard for me to it makes it hard for me to like say, say something in a really nice way. Like FE used to be like you get the tribe and you like I know what to say, but sometimes it comes out awkward.
Yeah,
And I've been told I can be quite blunt and direct, and I
yeah,
don't mean to be in a rude way. It's just how I am thinking the thought. And yeah, so I kind of got into like a confrontation with a colleague, and she was like, can I talk to you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she was like, that thing, because it was kind of related to a freak out. She's like, that thing, the way you phrased it was quite blunt. And I was like, I'm sorry. It was just that I had had the same conversation with someone else, and um, it just got to me, and I just had to come out with it. It was my TI. I was like, normally I have to really, really, really like layer what I'm thinking with just FE so that people don't get offended. Because sometimes when I think something's right and I'm going against the tribe, I know I'm upsetting people. And when I try to do it in a nice way, it's still not nice enough because my FE is masculine and it's not going to come out like roses and daisies and flower petals. But I'm better at it now because now that colleague absolutely loves me and we've come. So she just says I've made so much progress. She's higher up than me, so when she says that, she's allowed to say that. I don't feel like I'm being babied.
so what about your feminine TI? So you have a feminine inner world, right? So on the outside, you look like a tough person and people don't mess with you. But then inside you're really soft and, more movable. So how can you kind of like tell a story of what's that's like, for you to have like feminine TI and feminine NI, and you process quite a bit too. So
Hmm. Um, I think I'm open to hearing someone's reasons. I'm very interested in what other people think. And if I think a certain way, I mean, sometimes it just doesn't change, but I think it's just more movable. And also with NI, it's my fourth function, even though it's double activated, I think. And if someone tells me like this is going to happen for you, this is okay, I will eventually believe them, even though for me, in terms of things that happen in the future, I can't believe it until it happens. And that's quite an SE thing, maybe. Um, yeah.
so let's talk about that. That's very interesting. So how do you feel about the future? Because you do have that, demon fourth function NI, right? Like
Yeah, I don't really allow myself to imagine the future too much. Like when I have in the past as a kid, like this is gonna happen, this is the way it's gonna happen. It doesn't happen that way, and I get really like down about it. Like I shouldn't have thought about it at all. I should have just done the steps until I got there, and then found out how it's going, how it went, or will go anyway. Um, so yeah, I just kind of always tell myself what's up next, like what's next for me, not what's in 10 steps, because if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be shattered. It's like, I guess that's my tidal wave.
yeah, why don't you talk about that? Because before we started recording, you mentioned that you had a tidal wave, I think yesterday or something.
Oh my god, yesterday,
Yeah.
um it's really weird timing that today's the interview and yesterday was my like a huge freak out at work. I was so controlled and so like absolutely fine at work for the whole like since September, because I started a new course, teacher training. So it's like, and Dave and Shannon were like, because I got my typing in the summer, like, oh, teaching, that's so aspirational. And I was like, what? Like, blast last. So they were like, that's such a good thing to aspire to. And in my head, I didn't know I was blast last at the time. I was just thinking, this is something I want to do. I think I'll be good at it. And hearing back, about my type in detail, I kind of thought, like, crap, it's gonna be difficult for me to become a teacher. And it was, and blasting it was hard, and it still is hard. But so my tidal wave yesterday, what happened was basically I had something to prep for, some sort of, as a teacher training, I'm observed all the time. But yesterday was from someone much higher up, so it was much more important, and it's important for me to succeed in this particular observation so that I can progress. And she just came in like 10 minutes before the end. She was supposed to observe me for a bit longer, and that was fine. I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't really care if someone's late, not too much. But at the end, I was like, so hi, thank you for coming, thank you for your time, kind of insinuating that I wanted her to tell me how it was. And she said it was fine, but she kind of also casually slipped in. I don't think she realized that it would affect me. But yeah, we'll do a more formal observation next week. And I was just like, what? I didn't say what. I was like, thank you. Okay, that's fine. And I went upstairs and I talked to my mentor and I said, I'm so deflated right now because I worked so hard to you know, what's it called? Like dot the I's and cross the T's and like be perfect this whole time, or like do as best as I can. And I guess it was kind of leading up to that point. And for someone to say, you're gonna have to redo it next week, I was like, it's not fair. Like someone else, basically the rules are that you get this one thing, but you're not going to be asked to do it twice. And as a teacher trainer, you're observed. I will be observed again and again, and also in the second year. But this specific thing, I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail about what it means to me, but I was just like, I don't know, I think I was exhausted. Does it make sense? Like, does the tidal wave kind of make sense? Because
No,
I
no,
don't know if I'm explaining it.
well, no, it makes sense to me because, like, I mean, I don't know if the way you described it is how I understood it, but like from what I get, it sounds like, why are they watching you twice? Most people, they only kind of, observe them once, right? Like, why are you getting
Yeah.
observed twice? It's almost like you're being policed. Like they don't trust you almost, you know? And
Yeah.
am I right in kind of like what I understood from your story?
Yeah. I mean, I'm observed a lot because as a teacher trainer, you get a lot of feedback and you need to be observed by multiple people.
Yeah.
This particular person I'd never met before, but I knew was a very, very sort of high up person and I needed to impress them. And for them to sort of casually say, oh great, you were fine, that's great. We'll do a more formal one next week. I was just thinking, this was my like time to shine. I've worked so hard on this. I don't want to just go through that whole, I think it's also the EP thing of being controlled,
Yeah.
of like saying, cool, that was great, redo next week. Like, no. And I never cry like at work or, in front of people. It's just the worst thing for me. It's the most embarrassing thing. And as soon as someone asked me like, oh, so how was it? And then I sort of broke down. Luckily, there was only 2 people in the office. And then I had to just like go and be alone. And that's where I would just kind of let it out. And I sort of think it's probably not just that thing. It's probably the whole time of doing things that are my demons, because during the whole teacher training thing, I've been doing blast, I've been doing play, I've been trying to switch my modalities and be FF, not MM. So, and I don't think that it's a bad thing to be challenged, to be to get upset. I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually made me grow, because now today when I've gone to work today, I've been like, that was such a great opportunity for me to just review the whole year and to tell myself I've made so much progress and I'm so lucky to be in a job and to make progress in a career where I'm literally always working on my demons, constantly, always.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome opportunity. So I think when Damon Shann said to you, like, wow, awesome, you're gonna be a teacher, you get to use blast, which is your kind of fourth animal, like not many people get an opportunity to practice that day in, day out, right? So, like by just kind of, it's like, going to the gym, you put in the reps, and if you put in enough reps on your fourth animal, then just by pure default, just from because you have to do it for work, you're gonna be good or be competent at using all your animals. So you have like almost an advantage over, other people who don't get to practice their fourth animal,
Yeah, and I think also it makes me consume a lot less because I have less time. lesson prep, you have to, it's like the turnover for lessons is daily. You do a lesson on Monday and you have to do a new lesson on Tuesday with the same class, and that class has already moved on. They don't care if you spent 2-3 hours on that lesson on Monday. They need the next one and the next one and the next one. So my planning has improved. Before it was much more like, I'll plan day to day, it's fine. Now it's like, I've got to plan 2-3 weeks in advance. I want to know what I'm doing next month. I can't consume, like I rejoined Facebook the other day and I was like, how did I used to scroll Facebook? How? Like, I have no time to do that. My consume is very like specific. Like for example, knowing that I had an interview with you, I allowed myself time to watch some of your videos, particular ones, that maybe people who seem interesting or people that I knew from Facebook. But other than that, I haven't been able to be on Facebook because now is the time for me to just either make time to consume things for myself that I just genuinely love. And I do make time for that. Mostly it's just the weekend, or consume things for my planning for school.
You know what you're doing that I think is super cool is that like us EPs, one of our biggest issue is discipline, right? And I think the fact that you're like disciplining yourself, kind of like robbing from your first savior function, your consume, and kind of like using your blast instead. And also when it comes to your functions itself, you're using your NI, right? So you're planning for the future, you're creating lesson plans for the future. You're not just doing it day by day, kind of like what you said earlier. You have like 1 month's worth of lesson plan that you're preparing. So you're using purely your demon functions and you're doing it with such discipline. And I think, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Like you should get praise for that because that's so awesome. I think like,
I mean, it is, but at the same time, I think yesterday showed, because what happened yesterday is just, I don't know, I can't remember another time it ever happening. But yesterday just shows that how draining and exhausting it is. And perhaps I never allowed myself time to really just process that. So even my sleep is being robbed. I'm not consumed or sleeping as much anymore. I'm not allowing myself to. I mean, I'm naturally reflective, and part of my course is to be reflective. So I'm very happy that I'm still able to do that. But I'm reflecting on the teaching. I'm not reflecting on my feelings anymore. So I think yesterday was Tidal Wave because it was like, stop, let it out, resume, respect. I really think it's important people respect their saviors. Like, don't just zoom into your demons. I always allow time for my saviors because I would be so unhappy if I couldn't consume for themselves. Like, if I couldn't read books, still try to read one book a week. I still try to keep up to date with like TV shows I like. I still go to like the movies. I still read essays that I used to read at university. It's just concentrated and more specific now. So, and I think that makes you a happier person, because if you're not progressing, if you're spending too much time on your saviors, I watched Jonathan Knott, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He's an ENFP. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's the one who referred me to you,
live.
I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we've talked, and in his video, he states that if he could go a few days, consuming whatever, he would feel pretty depressed, pretty sad.
Yeah.
I completely related to that, because now that I've seen what happens when you are disciplined and when you work on your demons and when you give time for your saviors, but just at specific times, your saviors are more enjoyable because you're not just doing them all the time.
You're kind of like treating yourself to your savior. It's like a cheat day, kind of, like.
Exactly. Oh my God, it definitely is.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think whatever you're doing is awesome. Like, I know you had a freak out yesterday, whatever happened there. But I think, I think that's just part of the deal, like when you're trying to grow as a person, you're going to stumble and you're going to feel hurt, right? Like, cause you're venturing into like, a place that you're not used to. And, it's like when you're a kid, you're trying to walk, right? And you're going to fall down several times before you learn how to walk properly. So like, I feel like that's kind of like what's happening to you. Is like, you're like, the demon functions that you're working on, your sleep and your NI, like those are kind of like still babies, right? And then they're trying to learn how to walk. And
well, sleep is second. So I think Damon Shann said like sleep is really good because I'm just always reflecting. So What did you mean? Sorry.
No, I just meant like, let's say you're using your blast, right? So you're
Yeah.
kind of like, blast is kind of like a new territory to you compared to
Yes.
like consume. Like your consume is very mature. While
Okay.
like, let's say your blast is, it's still a kid and you're trying to grow up, right? And yesterday, you hit a roadblock and then
Mm,
uh, you had a tidal wave as a result. But that's just part of the deal, right? Like I don't think anything's wrong with that.
mm,
I think like when you're trying to improve in an area, you're gonna get beaten up first before you you grow essentially. And I think
yeah.
getting beaten up is not a bad thing, like I think you're aware of that. Like it's just part of
Yeah.
like, yeah, like the more you get, like it's, like Damon Shann always talks about like it's better to have your tidal waves now than later. Like you don't want to be that person, in their 50s and now they're just having their tidal waves now, like the
Mm,
midlife crisis. Like
yeah.
the earlier you have it, the better. Then you get it out of the way, and then later on you kind of can cope with it better. You
Yeah.
know. Um, I want to talk to you about fear because you're a double decider like me, and
Mm.
according to David Chan, individuals who are double observer have issues with pain, while individuals who are double deciders have problems with fear. So, do you find that there's a lot of things in your life that you're scared of, and then maybe that prevents you from taking action in that area?
Um, yeah, I think it's quite like that. Fear is so personal, so it's gonna be
Oh,
hard to talk about without
what,
revealing my fears.
yeah, that's okay. Like you can talk about something that you feel comfortable about, or something smaller, but you know,
Okay.
it could be something silly too. Like just to start, and then you can talk more about other stuff that you feel comfortable about.
But what's a fear that's silly?
Okay, I'll give you an example. So I interviewed an INFP a week ago,
Hmm.
and I was so because I have fear issues too as a double decider. So I said, okay, you know what? After this interview, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this file and I'm gonna upload it right away to my external hard drive and my Dropbox because I'm afraid that I'm gonna lose the file and the interview will go to waste. So it's like kind of like blind paranoia. Like I'm always checked. Like also like when I
Ah,
go to my car, like when I leave my car, I don't like I have a crappy car, right? So
mm,
I don't have like those button that you press to lock the car, so I have to turn the car to lock it. So
oh, okay.
I'm always paranoid. I left the key inside the car, and
Mm,
like before I close the
mm,
door in my car, I'm always like triple checking my pocket to make sure my key is in my pocket. So it's
yeah,
kind of like,
I'm doing that all the time with all my belongings because of masculine SE as well.
yeah, it could be. I mean, I have masculine SI, so that could be it. But I'm just like paranoid. So that's kind of like a silly version, but obviously there's like deeper fear, right?
I
So
mean, I was afraid to do this interview. I was very nervous at the beginning. I feel like I've relaxed a bit into it now. But I think I've been afraid to sort of be online and like I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel and I've been
oh,
afraid to do that.
um, well, why don't we talk about that then? Like, what was about the interview that that made you feel kind of scared to do?
Um, Allowing strangers into my inner world, and that's pretty intense. I know people go online and talk about their lives and share all the time, but I don't. I don't
Yeah,
like to do that. I think there's that masculine, like that wall there. Like, I don't know you.
yeah.
So this, I think it's just come at a time where, as I said, I've been working on my demons, and I think part of that has allowed me to be sort of try to open up a bit more.
Um, it's interesting because my girlfriend is also double masculine, and
Yeah.
like to be honest, I think there's only like a few people that really knows her, like that she shares her kind of inner world too.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's a are you guys trying to protect that kind of like do you feel easily hurt or
Um, I think that if someone hurts me, I'm not upset at them. I'm upset at me for. Oh no, if someone tries to hurt me, I'm upset at my lack of defenses.
oh
I'm disappointed in myself. But
oh,
that's a paranoid fear. That's not rational, and I need to be more rational and allow myself to um, just be exposed to the world a bit more. I guess.
Is it because you have feminine TI? Like, do you think that's why? Like maybe you're like, because feminine TI means you have your logic, but because it's feminine, it's a little bit like unsure. Like it's there, but you're not confident in it. Like I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm confident in the things that I consume, the things that I know.
Right.
For example, whenever I'm thinking back to school, because school is my life right now, teaching. If the other teachers, when their blast is a lot higher, I mean, I can see that because they'll say, "Oh, I haven't even read this story or this extract, but I'll be teaching it." I wonder, oh, they'll say like 10 minutes before the lesson, "Oh, I didn't know that he killed his wife," and I was like, "Didn't you read the story?" And she was like, no, I haven't had a chance to. And I was saying, what are you going to teach? And for them, it's the skills. The skills in that subject are the same over and over again. It doesn't matter about the story. To me, it matters. To me, I won't just read the story, but I'll read the backstory. I'll read the author's story. I'll read everything. So when I go into the lesson, we're not just focused on the skills. We're focused on the bigger picture. We're focused on more than just, because I feel like, I don't know, teaching is each to their own, I guess.
I guess you want to be consistent with the story. Like you don't want to deviate and provide false information.
Exactly. And what I've realized is that teachers are very good at providing false information that looks like the truth.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
It is, because the thing is that people who are high blast, they aren't actually sure of their knowledge. I mean, they are, but they shouldn't be. They don't have it. They don't have the right knowledge. So
I've seen it before because one of my childhood friends growing up, he is an ISTJ, and I'm pretty sure he has blast first or second, and
mhm.
we know he's making things up because when we do a fact check, he kind of stumbles, and then the interesting thing is he'll keep going,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, well, this source says this, it kind of contradicts with what you're saying, and then he'll get really defensive and say, no, that's wrong, like the sources is wrong, and I'm like, oh my God, like, so blast high individuals sometimes they, even if you present them the facts, like that you've gathered, it's still not enough to kind of have them admit that their blast is
Oh, that reminds me of another freak out I had.
yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so we were looking at an exam that we were going to give to a particular cohort, and I read the exam. Of course, I read the exam, I read the extract, and I was thinking, oh, but recently we've been teaching this particular thing, not what that's asking. So shouldn't we just have a little revision session before the exam to help them more? And they were like, no, that's asking that thing. I'll just be more specific. The question is asking them to inform, but we've been teaching them how to write a persuasive speech. And they were saying, no, it's asking them to write a speech. And I was like, no, the wording of this question does not ask you to write a speech. The wording of this question is asking you to inform, because you cannot create a persuasive speech about, for example, bad weather. What would you need to persuade them about? It's like the question was like, create a talk for your classmates about a time when you were in bad weather conditions, and how you prevented, how one could prevent themselves from, a thunderstorm or blah 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 blah. It didn't make sense that they were creating persuasive speech, because there is no argument to take. There's no side to take. It's just, here's a situation that happened to me. I was stuck in a rainstorm, and here's how you're informing, correct?
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't agree. It's fine, because I'm now used to people, basically, the people I mean, we've sorted it out now and it's fine. But I couldn't move my TI. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, I could see how that makes sense. Whatever. But, and it's also second, it's the middle two. So
Yeah.
I'm flexible, right?
Right.
But this particular thing was just not on. And I was just like, and that was the thing where the person who was sort of higher up was like, you're coming across as a bit blunt. And I was like, well, this is what I believe. This is what makes sense. and it's fine. And then I think I was a bit sort of even more rude by saying, I think I'm going to check with someone who's been teaching for 30 years. And I looking back at that now, and I was like, I didn't really need to say that. I could have just kept it to myself. But I think it's because I care about what we teach these kids, and I care about, you know, and one student ended up writing persuasive speech about global warming, and global warming was not in the question. Sorry, I'm getting heated up about it again.
Yeah,
As you
no, it's
can
fine.
see,
It's fine.
things need to make sense, because
Yeah.
if they don't, like, it's just, well then, oh yeah, you know, in another video that you were doing with someone, and you were talking about your FI, and like, or I think it was Jonathan talking about his FI, because you're both ENFPs. So
We're both
my
ENFP.
memory is usually
Yeah.
ENF. Yeah. So something about FI and like justice, and if something is someone is being like hurt or something, or like prejudice or something like that, that he would jump in. I'm like that, but with TI. Like, I've noticed I will come to someone's aid when I think the person that's hurting them is being irrational. I'm like, yes, you can say your points. Yes, you're allowed to have an opinion about this person, but your points are not valid right now. It does not help this person for you to be saying this. And I just thought about the way I phrased my version of help, and it didn't seem to come from a place of FI. Not that I'm debating my type, but I'm just stating that it's interesting when I see differences between FI and TI, because they're so similar in the way that Damon Shann described them. It's your values, your reasons, and I feel like those things can be confused for the other sometimes.
Well, I think you just described that, you know, very accurately, like the big difference between FI and TI. And I think what you're doing, I don't think you're doing anything wrong, but I can see how you're kind of stepping on other people's toes. You know, like I'm being a double decider here now. Like I think you're respecting the information. You're respecting the accuracy of the information. You're respecting the fact that if students are here to learn, they need to learn the right way to do things, you know, the accurate way, you know, like if it's a persuasive essay, it has to be a persuasive essay. It cannot be like, you know, I'm just going to inform you about something. Persuasion means you have to take a side, right? And you have to go debate that side that you decided to take on, and you need to have supporting information to kind of reinforce your argument. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially what, like from what I can see,
Yeah, that's basically what I was saying. And after that, I became a lot more like, honestly, like I feel like my modalities have switched as well, because my FE is a lot more feminine now. I'm really good at just mirroring the tribe as well. Well, not
yeah.
that good, but I try my best. And yeah, I'm trying to be more fluid. Yeah, like things like at the beginning of this video, I talked about my bag and stuff, and like, oh, this is my stuff. But now I'm like, yeah, cool, move my stuff. Or, and even my colleagues will say, you need to be less independent. And I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like, I need to ask for help more. I need to the tribe and me need to be more like this, rather than me and this is you. I always feel quite aside from everyone now.
Yeah. Well, you are self above tribe, right? So, you know,
Yeah.
like, do you always, like, when you enter like a group of people, do you feel like you're
Yeah.
a part of the group, or do you feel like you're like detached, almost like you're separate from the group?
I think I've for quite a long time felt detached,
Yeah.
but now I realize the value of attachment and dependency, because making other people believe that you need them makes them feel good. So if you can make them feel good, they'll like you more, I guess. Not
Yeah.
that I'm being like totally fake with people, but I feel like I'm learning the value of FE and the importance of, you know, because Dave and Shannon always talk about, it's not you against the tribe. It's like, you've got to be more like, whatever's your demons, you've got to work on them. And FE is a demon, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's masculine, but it's a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like when you had a tidal wave, like the mini tidal wave that you had, it seems like it was like tribe related. You know, like you were going against what the tribe
Yeah.
wanted. You know, it's
Yeah.
and I wonder, do you think the people you're working with, are they lead FE, like a lot of them?
I think they're lead TE and lead FE, and lead any, and they're just what teachers should be, and I'm not.
Right.
So, but I'm trying.
I mean, what?
Oh,
Okay.
for example, I forgot to add to the tidal wave thing yesterday.
Yeah.
Someone surprised me. The lady who helped me. Let me just tell you what she did, because
Sure.
she blew my mind, and I really would love to know her type. Maybe you can help me with this.
Sure.
So, basically, I went to her. She's the one who actually saw me cry, and instantly she was very like sort of, you know, not the awkward pat on the back, but genuinely she was very fluid in her sort of, the way she was comforting me seemed genuine. Not only that anyone can do that, right? That's like a human thing. Well done. Okay, moving on. She then said, no, this isn't right, we're going to sort this out, like this is fine, you don't have to worry, you've passed this process, it's on to the next step. Now, she could have just said that, and her words could have been reassuring enough, but she didn't just do that. She didn't stop there. She then told me, once I'd calmed down, she said, let's go to her now and just check, I want you to know that your feedback was great. I was like, okay. I mean, this is still happening while I'm still having my freak out. I'm still like, she's not letting me sleep on this situation. She wants to deal with it now. And I'm so thankful that she did, because she basically, we sat down with the other person, and they must have had a quick word beforehand, because the other person was like, you're fine, I'm sorry if it, blah blah blah, and I was like, no, it's fine. And she did this thing where she was like stating that the next process was going to happen in front of the other person and in front of me, in order to make it official there and then. Do you see what I'm saying? So she didn't just say, I'll email her separately. No, she decided to take me along with her to see the process of her power. Like, her powers were used for good, and I was just like, is that TE? Like, that ability to just turn something around or make something happen really quickly? Because I was just like, whoa.
That's very lead TE right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know what she was, but she also empathized with you. So I mean,
Yeah.
it could be FE or FI. But there's definitely TE there. I usually, when someone has TE though, they don't have FE, right? So it's definitely someone with FI and TE. So that person that dealt with you, it could be multiple different personalities. It could be an ESTJ or an ENFP or ENTJ. I think those three would kind of be like, if I were to narrow it down to who would have done that, it would be one of those three. So now you have to figure out which one. Is it an ESTJ?
Definitely not ENFP.
Yeah.
ESTJ or ENTJ. Oh, I'll
Yeah.
try and narrow it down.
Yeah.
She actually looks a bit like Shannon. So if we're going on face typing, then she'd be an ENTJ that skips an I.
Yeah. Then you might have. She might be an ENTJ. Yeah. Yeah. Because of the TE, right? Like she got things done right away. Like, it was like massive execution.
Honestly, it was just like, it looked like magic to me, because I don't have those functions. To see someone
Yeah.
just create a reality, because it wasn't a reality, because the words she said weren't really true for me, because as I said to you, I need to see it happen in the now to believe it.
Well, it
And when
made
she made that happen in front of me, I was like, whoa, my weekend is secure now. I feel fine.
it could be a jumper, ENTJ,
Yeah.
right? Like, like she did it now, like now, right? Like SE is all about the now, right? Kind of. So,
Yeah. Yes.
and then she used T to execute. She executed on the now, like she didn't wait, and then you're part for her to try, right? So she cares about you. So she wants to
Yeah,
make
she
sure.
does.
So
And
she
I had
wants
no
to.
idea.
Yeah, so she wants to make sure things are working for you. Like right now you're crying. So it's like, clearly for her, it's like, this doesn't work for you. So we're going to solve it right now. We're not going to wait till later.
Yeah.
We're going to do it right now. So she empathized with you first, drag you all the way to the person who evaluated you.
Yep.
Problem solved. And then now it works for you. It works for the person solving it. It works for her. Everyone's happy. The tribe's happy because everything's working for them, So
Yeah. And she called me later that evening to double check. And I was like, what is going on? This is like the nicest person ever.
yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I've been through a lot in the past 24 hours, just saying. And then I'm really glad that this interview is happening now because everything's fresh and yeah, it's cool.
yeah, and it's easy for you to kind of like go back there and talk about it because it just happened.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. No, because you're a double decider, is it very easy for you to kind of like see the point of view from other people and also yourself? So like, let's say someone's disagreeing with you, you might not like what they say, but you can also see their point of view, you know, like.
Yeah, always. And I actually prefer for someone to have a different point of view because I always want to upgrade my reasoning. Yeah, so sorry, that was a short answer.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just watched the video that Damon Shann released today, and they were talking about people who have play before consume and people who would consume over play. And one of the things that they said is people who has consumed over play, even if the tribe tells them an information, they might not 100% take it based on face value. They might still go back and research more on that information. You know, so let's say someone tells you something and then they tell you, okay, now go do that. And you might say, nah, let me go do more research first before I go do that. You know, they're like, but I just told you, and then you'll be like, because you have consumed first, you might say something like, nope, I think I'm gonna go research more first, get the full spectrum. You know, so do you agree with that? Like, if someone that has consumed over play, even if your tribe tells you one thing, you might still take the time to go research it fully, get the full spectrum before you do something with that information.
Yeah, I prefer to research something myself. I prefer to know the information myself as if I had found it on my own. I think because sleep is between consume and play for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it has to be. It's not just that I have to consume before I play. I have to sleep on it. I have to process it. So another example would be with teaching, there are strategies that you can use in the classroom, and there are people who write about these strategies. Now, my colleague would prefer to just know them very quickly and implement them. I would prefer to read about who created this strategy and when, and other strategies that are in competition with it. And I would love to research and sleep on it and think about it, and then come to the classroom and be like, I've chosen this one. Whereas she would like to play with that information, use it in the classroom, and by trial and error, figure out which one works for her. And she was having a mini freak out today. She was like, I've got to talk to my professor about whether I have to do this essay in this certain way. And for me, it didn't make sense that she was freaking out about the essay. For me, it was like, why aren't you freaking out about the actual teaching? Because that's what I'm freaking out about sometimes. I mean, I don't really, but if someone tells me, hey, use this new technique, it's really important, I want to see you do it tomorrow. I'm like, cool. What? Whereas if someone says, hey, I want it 3,000 words by tomorrow, I'm like, yeah, cool. Do that in 2 hours. Like, I can consume in half an hour, like, and then use the rest of the time to just type. Yeah, but I prefer to consume for longer than that and type for like less because I can type really fast. Anyway.
That's a really funny observation you made. Like, someone was freaking out about, you know, something else. Like, you were freaking out about blasting, and then the other person was freaking out about I guess lack of consume, maybe, I don't know. So
yeah,
the completely different areas. You're what kind of what subject do you teach as a teacher, or do you teach all the subjects?
English. I teach English for high school, but I love maths and science, so I try to tell my students, you know, if you ever need help with maths, just come to me, and they do, so it's great. I get to teach both subjects.
Is that what you majored in? Is it English, or?
I majored in I did the sciences until I was 21, and then I did English. So
What made you decide to switch to English as opposed to stick it out in sciences?
English has more meaning. Science is great. Works in the real world, but I prefer to think about what's not real. It's like philosophy and stuff.
Oh. So it sounds like you're very fascinated with your N You know, like even though it's your fourth, like you have a very huge fascination.
My fourth.
It's your fourth.
According to Damon Shann. Like, you know, when you asked me the MBTI question, I was like, well, I don't think my MBTI is ESTP, because I think that if you're going by traditional standards, what I'm interested in, my introversion, my, like, yes, I have reasons, and Shannon really sort of, you know, made that very clear in her reply video. She was like, you have these reasons, you're ST because you explain yourself in a very clear way, you're not using, you know, lots of analogies or metaphors. But I wasn't using those. Well, I guess I didn't use them in this video either. So maybe I am ST, but my interests aren't ST. Like when you were talking to the ENFJ, the video that came out today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking about what he consumes, and he was saying it's very ST, and I was just thinking, well, ST consume can't just be factual books, because I don't like factual books, and I'm ST consume to hell, and I read fiction, and I read essays about that fiction from a philosophy, like from psychology standpoint, from like, you know, critical theorists that talk about fiction. They're not just saying this is a great book. It's not a review. It's an analysis of a character, and it could be from multiple perspectives. You know what I mean? And where was I going with this? So that's not a step-by-step guide to how to live your life. It's just not. So I think consume. I mean, this is the thing. I was talking to someone who has any consume, and they were like, they like to learn new skills and new recipes, and I think any consume is more about the ideas, and that, you know, that could also be philosophy, it could also be psychology, but my example is they love to learn a new recipe so that they can do the thing themselves. I would prefer to find the next new, like, best restaurant that cooks that recipe. I don't want to do it myself. Maybe that's the whole doing it in the now thing. I don't know.
Um, well,
I'm just
I
trying to
have.
find a difference between any consume and SE consume.
Well, I mean, I have any, right? So like when I consume stuff, I consume, like, you know, a wide variety of things. Like if it's like, you know, I like personal development stuff, so I'll read books like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People because I'd like to be a better person and be more effective when talking to other people. But then I'll also consume, you know, like information on cooking recipes, and I'd like to do it myself because I do have TE, right? So so
Uh,
so I want to consume, get like the SI step-by-step facts and like how much, you know, like teaspoon do I need of salt, or like how many tablespoon of I don't know, turmeric I need, whatever. So like I want the step-by-step guide on how to do it. So that's very SI,
mm,
right? And then I want to
mm,
T execute it right after I gather all the details on how to cook. And then after I finish
mm.
cooking, you know, I can try the food and get like a taste for it, and then just serve it to my friends and my family members. And then like I can see the reaction to my cooking, kind of like using my plate, kind of like to show off a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
And then like, you know, so it's like using everything, right? Like all four, essentially all four functions right there. Um, but do you think it's because you have consumed first? That's why you like to consume about a wide variety of different topics, you know? Because like, you know, the ENFJ that I interviewed yesterday, he he has consumed third, right? So it's like a hobby. It's not like his main savior, right? It's still a demon. So it's like
Yeah.
it takes the supporting role to kind of like to his saviors, right? Well, for you, consume is
Mhm.
it is the main,
Everything.
it's the main event, you know. So
It's the consistent event, the continuous, ongoing thing that never ends.
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe as a result, you like a wide variety of topics, and you don't
Yeah.
consume just for practical purposes. You consume for recreational purposes, and just because you love it, you know.
Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about your YouTube channel that never happened. Um,
Yeah.
so you said that you were scared to start a YouTube channel. What kind of, like, what were you scared about? Like, you kind of touch on already about sharing about your private life, and you don't want to go detail about that. But like when you have a YouTube channel, right? You can talk about anything, so you don't have to talk about yourself essentially if you don't want to.
I think it's my reasons, because I feel like if I share my reasons about why something is good. For example, if I made a YouTube channel about TV shows or like reviewing books, those are my reasons. And another thing, I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel where I talk about how I, as SETI and a teacher, how that works and like last. And I think I'm just going to go ahead with it. But I think sharing my reasons with the world, or even on Facebook, like, you know, in the forums, in the MBTI, like, you know, people are always talking about what they think, and I kind of prefer just to share what I think with someone who I know. Like, even if they disagree, I'm not opening up to strangers who are going to be like, oh, well, you're dumb, or like, you don't get it. Like, even here, like, you never know, people could like, there's like this video, which I don't think is fine, whatever, I'm doing this because I don't care anymore. But if they, you know, disagree with me, I have to engage, I have to understand their point, because I need to know more. Consume first.
Well, you know what? Thanks for doing the video. I know, like, it was something that you were, scared to do. So I really appreciate that you know, you're, you know, that you just did it. You know, like, you know, I don't think you're gonna do bad if you have a YouTube channel. I think because you consume so much stuff. It's kind of like what Dave and Shan were talking about. Like people who consume so much stuff, they're kind of like the quiet person, and then all of a sudden they're the guru of a topic just because they know so much, you know, from all the years they've been consuming. So I bet you have tons of stuff that you can share and talk about that you find fascinating, and I'm pretty sure other people also find interesting. And now that you're working as a teacher, I think you get a chance to kind of practice blasting. So, you know, I think it's just like
how have I done so far? How have I done so
right
far?
now?
Like in this video, like blast wise.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. I think you're doing a combination of play and blast, like just from what I can see, because you're like sharing stories about yourself, right? Because like I noticed, like people who are blasty, they don't really share a story. They're kind of like teaching me like a concept. Well, someone that's using play is kind of like sharing like a more personal story. Like you shared so much stories today, right? About like your freakouts and your tidal waves, and so it's very heavy on play.
I was like processing this interview. So everything that happened, I was just like, I need to remember this for the interview.
Oh, did you? Oh, like you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. You know, you also mentioned that, you know, a lot of ESTPs don't become teachers, right? But I actually think they do, but they're usually PE teachers, you know?
Oh, okay.
Like from what I've seen, like I think ESTPs are heavily represented in like sports or fitness. Like I don't know if you've seen like a lot of examples that Damon Shann has shown. You know, a lot of them are like bodybuilder. Like if they're guys, they're like bodybuilders usually. Like even for me, like, you know, I work in the fitness industry, and the person that kind of like marked my practical exam was an ESTP also, you know. And like I took a workshop yesterday on fitness, and again the instructor was also an ESTP, you know. Like I can see he was he was pretty flexible with people, because he was an EP. He didn't he didn't care that people were late for his class at all. Like he's like,
I don't. When people come late to my class, I'm always like, yeah, just sit down. We need to get on. My masculine SE is just like, I don't care. Just sit down.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's really important that they like do the thing rather than tell me, sorry, I'm late. Is when it comes to like being polite or like saying please and thank you, and like, I would rather we move fast than stop to say thank you.
Just get on with it. Get on with it, right?
Get on with it. Let's move.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I noticed he was kind of more chaotic with like the more like organization, because there's like paper everywhere, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Just like all this clutter here. Like I don't know. He's telling us like, okay, guys, go to page 11, or like, oh, go to page 34, and this is the information we're gonna talk about. I'm looking at page 34. I'm like, I don't have a page 34. You know, it's like,
oh my god, I struggled with that at first.
like definitely. So chaotic, right? I'm like, I don't have that page 30. And he's like, oh, by the way, guys, there's several mistakes in your handouts, because he made a handout, right? So it's like, I'd like you to go back to like, you know, page 13, and this thing says this, but it's actually wrong. Can you scratch it out, change it to this? Go to, you know,
yeah, it's like, who cares? Let's just scratch it out as the lesson happens. That's so ESTP. I don't think he's consumed sleep at all.
Yeah, I don't know, but like I just noticed that, and I was like, I'm like, this guy's an EP. This guy teaching us right now is an EP.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm looking around the room. I'm like, besides me, everyone in the room is an IP, right? And
Mm.
I think they're jumper IP, so they're kind of like more controlling IP, like with no
Ah,
information. So I can see them
yeah.
kind of getting like a little bit stressed out with like the chaos, you know, which
Yeah.
I thought was a little bit like funny. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
that
think
like
I deal with a lot of SI people at work as well. But I feel like I've made so much progress.
but
Um, and yeah, I think that it's ah man, I think if you haven't got FE, hmm, I think FE has been very handy because you just kind of, you know, the whole mirror chameleon thing, it's so useful.
for FE you mean?
Yeah, like that's I think that's where FE always comes in. Like even though I have a third, um, it's still sometimes I'm like, because you know it's like 60-40 or whatever. Sometimes I'm like, oh, today I'm FEing way more than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna wrap up the interview pretty soon. I just
cool.
have maybe 2 questions for you to kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
So the first one is like, do you have a message that you want to give to, you know, any ESTPs out there, even the ones who are more of the rarer type like you, like because you're the introverted ESTP, like the Obama kind. So do you have kind of like any tips for you know, just ESTPs in general who might be self above tribe, and also for the ones who are more introverted like you are?
Okay. My I've already prepared for this question because I saw your earlier interview,
Yeah.
just saying. But my advice would be make time for your saviors. Don't jump into your demons like head first. Make sure you've planned for that so that when you get to the end of the week and you're exhausted and you just need to consume, you know what's going to happen. Do not be that person who's like, you know what? I'm going to put off consuming until like 6 months from now. I'm going to just be disciplined in 6 straight months. You know, it's not going to happen. Dave says you've got to respect like the order of your animals and all of that. Work on it, but don't go crazy. I think that was my advice. Yeah.
I really like your advice because it's very NI, almost like plan for it, you know, like plan for the future.
Oh,
Like you're giving like your demon as your advice, which is very good, I think. It's like,
oh yeah. That reminds me of another thing I was going to say.
sure, yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so basically,
Yeah.
I have this question. When we get better at our demons, are we doing so in order to serve our saviors? Is the ultimate reason our saviors? Because when I do NI and FD a lot better and I'm consistent with my routines, is that because I want to have guilt-free consume and have that opportunity to make that consume that much more concentrated and enjoyable? Or is it because I want to be a more balanced person? Or is it both? And am I just living on hold until I get to consume? Because sometimes when I put consume off, I feel a bit like not myself and like another version of me has taken over.
So your question is that okay to do that? I'm a little bit confused
My
by.
question is, do we get better at our demons just to serve our saviors in the long run?
You know, I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Like I would be pulling something out of my ass if I if I,
No,
if I
no, don't do that. No worries. Just
but I can tell you like a similar story because like I have blast third, right? So sometimes I have
yeah.
to make YouTube videos. Um and
Okay.
and kind of like when I blast, I use my SI and my TE. And
Mm-hmm.
my SI is my fourth function. So it's like a huge struggle for me to kind of like tap into that SI, like kind of like my
Mm-hmm.
known organized facts, right? So when I noticed that like when I made those videos where I was blasting about like tips on how to be a better ENFP, a lot of
Yeah.
ENFPs accuse me of not being an ENFP. And
Oh.
and then I kind of thought about it. It's like, I'm just being me. I don't know what they mean by me not being an ENFP. So I rewatched the video and I kind of like looked into like, you know, the op blast, like what is like what function is it hitting, right? Like for
Yeah.
me it was TE and SI. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's very ST reporter like, right? And even like when I was presenting, I kind of seem robotic, and that's what ST
Yeah.
is, right? It's robotic, right? So
Yeah.
I had to
Oh
reply.
no.
So I told the ENFPs, I was like, hey, you know, you guys, the reason why I don't seem ENFP when I'm talking in this manner is because I'm using my ST reporter. I'm not an ENFP. I'm not using my NE and FI, which you guys are probably used to, you know, or my NE and my
Yeah.
TE. So
Yeah.
now it does it serve my consume, because I have consume first also.
I think it does, because in a way you're oh, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry. I do that.
No, it's okay. I don't mind. But like,
Yeah.
go finish what you're saying, and I'll tell you what I think.
So maybe it's because you like to learn more about perhaps how these processes work, and by putting your ideas out there, you get that instant feedback. I mean, the turnover of your videos is quite quick, sorry. So perhaps it's because you need to grow your viewership, of course, but also learn more by giving out more. Maybe you're trying to get more in return. I mean,
Yeah, so I just noticed that actually just yesterday, and even just talking to you right now, like I noticed everything I do is to serve my consume. You know, like I was when I was talking to the ENFJ yesterday, and I'm talking to you right now, and even the INFPs I was talking to last week, and you know, just the INTJs I was talking to a few days ago, I noticed that everything I was doing, like when I was doing the interview, yeah, obviously I'm trying to grow my viewership, trying to put out content on YouTube, right? That's kind of like the obvious. But like what wasn't obvious to me was that the reason why I enjoy it so much is because I'm learning all the specifics that about the different functions, and there was no way like there was no way I could have learned this in a book. Like there was no way I could have read a book and learned it. I actually had to talk to you guys who actually uses it as like a savior, and like
yeah.
tell me kind of like your demons and how you have like tidal waves and stuff for me to like really understand it. So for me, like I think it was like Dave who talked about like, you know, op. Like when he first released op, he said it wasn't completed yet. He released it as an unfinished product because he wanted to ping off the tribe, right? Like the tribe will give him feedback on the stuff, on the content they're putting out. So if you only sat down and you just consume from books or videos, then basically you're missing like a big piece of the puzzle. Like I don't know what percentage of that piece you're missing, but you're definitely missing a big piece. And now that I'm doing all these interviews, like talking to you and talking to, you know, all the different types of, you know, op personalities, I'm just shocked on how much I actually like. I thought I knew a lot already because I consume so much, you know, books and videos. But now talking to you guys, like I'm just thinking to myself, oh my god, there's like a whole new world of information that I wasn't even aware of, you know. And it's not just even like about the function specifically. It's like the interaction between the functions, because you're an ESTP and you're unique to someone, you know, like you're even though you're an ESTP and someone's an ISTP, you guys are like completely different people. Like there's it's so different, you know, even though you have the same functions. And I'm like, for me, I feel like I'm learning so much, so I'm like, you know, I'm loving every minute of it, you know. Like just sitting here, I feel like a scientist, like a social scientist almost, you know, learning from everyone.
I've even seen your progress, like from video to video, watching old ones, watching new ones. You mentioned the things that you learned in previous videos, in your newer videos. For example, you didn't used to mention that your third demon is a hobby until someone told you in a
Yeah.
video. And then I was like, oh, cool, this is very cool. He's like literally absorbing all this information
Yeah,
and
exactly.
improving his videos because of it, which I really love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. It's I think it's because I have masculine SI. So
Okay.
when
Oh, okay.
so even though it's fourth, like when someone tells me something, I take it seriously, you know. It doesn't go like one ear and then out the other. Like it goes here, and then I'll actually like process it in my head, you know. I'm like, okay, this is important information, I cannot forget it, I have to memorize
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
um Now, because we're very different in terms of functions, like you don't have a single function that I have, and you don't have a single uh all the functions that you have I don't have. So is there something about my functions that you would like to know more about? Like kind of like I have NE, FI, TE, and SI. Is there something about it that you would like to kind of like something that puzzles you and you would like to learn more about that maybe I can help you understand?
Um, So tell me more about the interaction between ME and FI when it comes to dealing with other people, not consuming for the self. Like, do you consume? Because FI is your value. Oh, FI is your values, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
it almost moves in like a really fast rate. Like I feel like it's a machine almost. Like I can go to a room and E is kind of like it's almost like a net, like a big net, or like a big like a scanner. Like I can absorb everyone's emotion in the room. It's really weird. Like I literally like I see the interaction between people and kind of like the micro changes in their facial expression, and like I take it all in, right? It's like it's really weird. It gets really overwhelming sometimes because like sometimes I don't want it to be on, right? I'm like I want to tune out the world, but I can't. Like it's on permanently, right? So I get so overwhelmed with like so much emotion happening in the room. Like I get so annoyed, right? I'm like like there's so much negativity in this room. Like I don't want to absorb this, you know, like there's too much, you know, like so. But the FI filters it based on authenticity, kind of like you with TI, right? So with your TI, when they were kind of explaining what the persuasive essay was, you're like, no, that's not what a persuasive essay is, you know? So for me, FI is like that, but like with a person's behavior. So like I'll see someone and they'll act like one way to like one person, and they'll say something to this person, and they'll talk to someone else, and they'll act like a completely different person. So you know, like I'll give you an example of a specific kind of person. So there's like in a workplace, there's always that kind of person that's like status seeking, right? Like always trying to look good in front of other people. They're very image oriented. I don't know if you are aware of that, but every workplace has like one of those. And you know, so I noticed I have a coworker who's like that. And you know, when he talks to the managers, he'll act very submissive, right? But then when he talks to like people who he feels like he has superiority over, then he'll act very condescending, you know. And then even within peers, the way he behaves is very differently, right? So if you're someone that looks very good or you have a strong personality, then he's kind of like buddy up with you. But if you're someone that's more weak, and he'll act kind of more like a bully, kind of like make you feel like you're lower than him, you know. And then like maybe, and then when you get that person alone, they'll tell you more about their actual self, right? But they'll never show that actual self to anybody. And then it like for me, my FI has like alarm bells almost. Like, why are you so fake? Like, why can't you be the same person for all those different interaction? Why do you have to change yourself by your interaction? Because like the way I live my life, I kind of live my, like I'm your opposite essentially. Like I live my life with my heart on my sleeve. Like if people are gonna hurt me, I want them to hurt me directly. Like, you know, like bring it. Like you want to say something mean to me? Go ahead, bring it on. You know, like I have masculine FI, right? So like I can take the hit. So give me the hit. You know, hit me. You know, like even when I was
but okay.
Sorry.
I said I'm not going to, but okay.
Yeah, like even like when I was working in fitness, like I used to work in a commercial gym, and we had to do sales as part of our job, right? Like because it was a commercial gym. Like I work in a nonprofit now, but before it was a commercial gym, and part of our job is to hit sales quotas, right? To sell like X amount of personal training sessions. So like whenever I did my sales consultation, I wanted to make sure I get a direct rejection. Like I would not take like I'll think about it for an answer. Like I want the person, like I will purposely ask them a question that will force them to reject me as a person, you know? So I'll say things
Oh my God.
like,
No.
I'll say things like, okay, now that you've seen the plan of action for your fitness plan, would you like to hire me as your trainer? And I just stop and I pause and I sit there and I wait for them to say something. And they'll look at me, right? And then I won't let them like finish the conversation until they give me a no, like a solid no. Like, no, I don't want you to be my trainer. Like I want them to say that to me. Like I want them to like directly reject me, like as a person, you know?
Wow.
And that's
I've been in sales and I've never wanted that. I've always been able to read which way they're going, and I will just back off if I know that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, like
That's so interesting.
but I know I used to do that like when I was younger, but like as I got older, I guess the FI is masculine, so Like I wanted to toughen up myself. So I said, you know what, hurt me. I want you to hurt me. Like I always like, I purposely do things that can potentially like where I would be embarrassed. I would make an ass of myself. You know, like I would be like, people ridicule me behind my back. I always put myself in those kind of situations on purpose. You know,
Okay.
like I know that's kind of weird. Like people, why would you do that? Like, you know, most people try to protect themselves, right? But for me,
No, I think it makes sense because it's what makes you, I guess you want to know yourself better as well. Maybe you know yourself very well, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is like you prefer authenticity over that playful back and forth. You want it to come to a real point, a truth.
I want people to like me for me. Like
Okay.
I don't want to create a persona that's not who I am, and have people like, you know, like let's say fall in love with that persona or like that person for that persona, because then I have to maintain that persona now, right? And maintaining a persona is very exhausting, you know. So it's easier to just be you, and if people don't like you, and you know right away that they don't like you, so then you know not to spend time with those people. Then you can hang out with people that likes you for you, because you know the way you act is consistent regardless of you are at work, you're teaching, you're with your, you know, partner, friends and family. Like regardless of who you spend time with, you're the same person. And it's just easier to kind of like filter who really cares about you, who's your true friend, because they know who you are already right from the get-go. There's no surprises, you know. So I don't know,
I guess
like,
it depends on if you want everyone to be your friend, because in that sense you're kind of saying you don't mind if someone isn't your friend, but you want to be able to see that truthfully. But if you don't care about being someone's friend, then sometimes that ability to be a chameleon only serves you for the things that you need. But your reasoning is, well, I want them to be, I want to know who I can trust from the get-go. Why would you want to trust everyone anyway, or trust people? As in, I just don't. I think if your filter to trust certain people is very like specific, like I want to trust you, therefore I will go through this authentic route with you. But if you know from the get-go that you don't want to trust your co-workers, or you don't, not that you don't want to trust them, but you know you're not going to get super close with them, why do you have to be the purest, most raw form of yourself?
no, that's a very good argument. I do that for like I am authentic with everybody, but I have like I have a dial, right?
Okay, yeah, I think that, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah. So I have a dial. Like
yeah,
I'm always authentic, but I might not show like if I know someone's very sensitive and I have to work, I have to spend time with them like at work,
yeah,
then I'll show them like a part of me that I know that is a match for them. Like that it's like we have a mutual interest. So like let's say if I talk about traveling, then we say, oh,
yeah,
I know this person likes traveling. So every time I see this person, I only talk about traveling. So I show them like an authentic part of me, but it's not like all of me, right? But they don't need to know all that part of me, because there's no, it doesn't make sense, you know?
yes, yes. I get it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. All right, Nora, it was super awesome to interview you today. Like I learned so much from you. And you know what? I really appreciate your honesty and like all your story like that you told me
Thank you.
today. I think they were really good. Um,
Thanks.
you're definitely very different from the ESTPs that I've encountered just on my day-to-day life. Just because I haven't met any super introvert ESTP before. Like all the ESTPs I've met have been like the super like sporty type, like very like strong.
PE teacher.
Yeah, like the PE teacher type, yeah, like or fitness
Yeah,
instructor type. So like for me, it's like, oh, that's super cool for me to meet someone like you who's so super different from the other ESTP and see like, you know, like Damon Shann, they have like the board, the checklist board,
yeah,
and you're like on
yeah,
the left side of the board. I was like, oh, cool. Like I've never met anyone ESTP on the left side of the board. So for me, that's just super, that's super fun for me. So that's, you know, Thanks for doing this today.
Cool. You're welcome. Thank you for having me as well.
All right, I'm gonna hit the stop record.